Okay, ready?
Yep.
You're going to get it right. First time.
Get what right?
I'll say hello, and then
Ready?
you say hello, and then
Hello.
the billowing hilltop.
Hello.
No.
Hello.
No. Oh, Christ,
And then the billowing hilltop.
We are the billowing hilltop. I hadn't worked anything.
You haven't done anything after that.
You've only got 45 seconds.
What do we do? No. I know what we do. We
loser.
play tabletop role-playing games. Currently, we're playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition. We're playing The Outlaws of Alkenstar Adventure Path by Paizo. And there's hundreds of episodes of us playing D&D.
Yep.
We just sit around a table, playing games and having fun, and you can hear us wherever you're hearing this. Search Billowing Hilltop. We hope you join us.
Yay!
Thank you.
Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. After a couple of weeks of not much going on, we are finally into the summer gaming events. As such, it's basically going to be all gas, no brakes for the next several weeks, and that starts today with this episode as we got a state of play from PlayStation with some news that's relevant to Switch fans. Plus, I traveled to New York last week to get my hands on Star Fox for Nintendo Switch 2. We will be talking about that in the main segment. We've got some news items to get to first. Joining me for all of that is the host of the Fun and Games podcast and Reignite. It's Matt Storm. Matt, how are you doing?
Good. Hey, good to see you again, Brian. I'm happy to be on this podcast. I'm an avid listener, a supporter of all things Nintendo. Love the pod. I've been listening since it was part of the Game Informer brand back in the day. Discovered it then and continued to listen since. So I'm excited to be here. And anyone who listens to either of my podcasts know I'm a tiny bit, just a little bit of a Nintendo freak. So, lots to say.
Well, you did specifically, we've been trying to figure out a time to have you on this show for, I would say, a year and a half at this point. And schedules just have not aligned. And you did reach out to me a couple weeks ago, like, hey, I want to try again. Here are some stuff that I'm excited for in the future. And then you also followed up later, like, hey, I also really love Star Fox. And I was like, I got an episode for you. So, yes, I traveled to New York last week and got my hands on Star Fox. And we'll be breaking down all of that. Me as somebody who's played it and is also a basically lifelong Star Fox fan. And then your perspective as somebody who has not played it, but I am assuming is very excited to play it.
Yes, very much so.
Well, we will get into that in the main segment. But first, as you know, Matt, because you're a listener of the show, we have a tried and true tradition here on the All Things Nintendo podcast when we have a debuting guest, and that is getting to know them through the lens of their history with Nintendo. So the first part of this is, what is your first Nintendo game? It could be your first console that you owned, first thing you ever saw, like at a friend's house, first game you ever bought, first time you even heard of Nintendo. What was the thing you went with?
So I just need the listeners and the video watchers, to not do any math when I tell you what my first system was as a child, because I grew up non-Nintendo with an Atari 2600, and the first console I got that was mine and mine alone was an NES. I was so excited for it. I think I'd seen it at a friend's house, and so one day my parents took me to buy a NES and the Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt combo pack with the light gun and a controller. And so that my first NES game ever was the combo pack. I'm assuming I played Mario Brothers first and then played Duck Hunt, but those are the first two games I ever owned for the NES and played for the NES, and that's where my humble Nintendo beginnings start.
But as a kid, how do you resist the neon orange allure of the light gun on NES? Because that was one of my first Nintendo games that I ever played. I didn't own it, but I would go to my aunt and uncle's house, and they had two cartridges. They had Tetris, and they had the Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. And I loved Duck Hunt. I know, when you're comparing it to Super Mario Brothers and Tetris, two of the greatest video games ever created, okay, it's a little bit of a step down, but the novelty of having that light gun and being able, I remember getting so mad at the stupid dog because it would laugh at you when you missed some of the ducks. But yeah, so what was do you remember what the impact on those games was for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, to start, I don't know. I know you'll remember. I don't know if all the listeners will, but a little show called Captain N Game Master.
Of course.
And so that, of course, was on the air with the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, which I was obsessed with around the time of the NES's popularity. And so there were many a night where I would run around my house with one of the NES controllers tied around my waist because he had it on his belt buckle, and the zapper with like the wires in my pocket, and just like shooting imaginary bad guys. So it had that impact on my imagination. But I would say the console, like I think the SNES is the one that like I realized, oh, video games are art. At this point, I was just like, this is the coolest toy ever. How do they get the man in the box to move? And so I think its impact was just kind of like childlike wonder and whimsy. Like, I mean, Nintendo is known for their whimsy. They've done plenty of adult games and plenty of stuff outside of the whimsy realm, but their bread and butter is kids games and like catering to a younger audience. And I think I discovered that really early with them. And it's why I think I love them so deeply still today, is because of that deep-rooted just kind of joy and light that came from the early NES games and would go on to be in later stuff as well.
Well said. I think that is a great encapsulation of the feeling that I think a lot of people have when they first discover Nintendo and, you know, play it beyond the surface, and then they realize like, oh, this actually might be my lifelong hobby. And I mean, as it is for you and as it is for me. So that brings us to the next part of this question, which is, what is your favorite Nintendo game of all time?
So obviously, I have a lot of favorite games that I played that debuted on the NES, but I know you are looking for a Nintendo-made Nintendo game here.
Hey, it could be whatever. You can interpret that however you want. It could be a game that you associate with Nintendo. I think I've had people say like Mega Man or stuff like that. So
fair enough.
It can be whatever you want. Just don't come at me with like, oh, it was Halo Master Chief Collection.
I mean, well, no, actually, that's still not on a Nintendo system yet. But
nope.
Could be soon. You never know.
One day, maybe.
One day. No, so I guess then we will talk about, I mentioned the SNES and how that made me see games as art. And the game that made me see that was a game that was originally only on the SNES and is now available in a multitude of places. But it's Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is my favorite game of all time. It's my favorite RPG of all time. And it's the first game to show me stakes and storytelling within a video game. I won't spoil this very old game, but there is a tragic death in the game that's connected to heroism, and like I cried. I was so upset. I was like, this doesn't happen in video games. Turns out it actually does happen a lot in video games. I just didn't know that yet. But I love Chrono Trigger. It's like, I can't say it's the best RPG ever made. I think that is more nebulous and arguable. What I can say, it is by far the best video game soundtrack ever made. And that is, there's a lot less ground to argue on that. I think it's one of the best made soundtracks, one of the most iconic soundtracks. But yeah, I love that game. I've played it an incalculable amount of times. I own it on every platform, including now the Super Famicom. My friend and friend to all podcasts, Dave Jackson, when he was visiting friends and family in Korea, found a Super Famicom copy out of the box of Chrono Trigger, which is the only version I don't have. And not only did he buy it, he then sent it to me. And so now I have the DS, PSX, Super Nintendo, and Super Famicom. And then I also own the Steam version, but there's no physical version of that. So yeah, Chrono Trigger,
fantastic.
Obsessed.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell. I mean, I have multiple versions of several games that I love as well, you know. Yeah. I have several copies of Final Fantasy X. Well, I guess I have like the remaster collection. I have the original PS2 collection or version, and then I have the Japanese PS2 that I actually got signed by the developers, which was pretty awesome. So
that is awesome.
But yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, that's my favorite RPG of all time. So I understand wanting to collect all the different versions of it. I mean, I don't have it across all the platforms that it's on because the remaster collection is like literally on everything, and I don't feel like having like, all right, here's my Vita version, here's my Switch version, here's my PS4 version.
Someday.
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, but so now I'm curious, if you were going to do a Nintendo-made game, you don't have to go in depth about it, but what was your answer there?
It's Metroid Fusion. I am a Metroid sicko through and through. I love those games, and Metroid Fusion always, like, people think it's a great game, but it's often maligned as like not being as open as the other games, and like that Zero Mission is better because it takes the original game and blows it up. But I love Fusion. I love the way the map breaks out, and it was the first time I realized that you could do 16-bit horror games, because the first time you see the SEX and the SAX and like they zoom
SAX.
in, that's a different villain.
Vowel choice there.
yeah, the SAX, and they zoom in on like her lifeless eyes, and like it just like that game taught me that you could do horror games in a whole bunch of different ways. But so Fusion without a doubt is my favorite Nintendo game of all time.
Okay. So not any Metroid news in this one, nor do we have any Chrono Trigger news, but we do have some news to get to. But before we do that, just a quick reminder, this show is brought to you by the wonderful folks over on Patreon. Without them, this show literally would not exist. You can get access to the community Discord for as little as $3 a month, where we are talking Nintendo and doing the occasional community game night. You can join that for just $3 a month. There are also $5 and $10 tiers to get you early and ad-free episodes, plus shout-outs at the end of every show. I've also recently restarted All Things Gamers, which is a semi-regular extra podcast that goes out to $10 patrons, basically whenever I have something I'd like to talk about. As I'm recording this, I'm literally leaving for Summer Game Fest tomorrow morning, so I'll have all kinds of stuff to say that expands beyond the scope of All Things Nintendo in the very near future. All Things Gamers is where I will dump thoughts on stuff like that. You can join the group of folks that makes this show happen by going to patreon.com and searching for Brian Shea or All Things Nintendo. It's only because of the fine folks who support this podcast on Patreon that I'm able to keep this going week after week. Also, I haven't done this, but I feel like I owe a huge thank you to T. Lopes for composing the theme song that you hear at the beginning and end of every episode of this podcast. Give him a quick little plug here. You can hear his work on Sonic Mania, TMNT Shredder's Revenge, Shinobi Art of Vengeance, and so many other amazing games. You can also check him out at tlopesmusic.com. All right, Matt, let's kick things off with this. I don't usually cover like Nintendo music updates because it's just so many things. And it's like, okay, who really cares that they added like this specific game to it? Like what will we have to say about it if they add like, oh, this game is coming? But this is actually a direct follow-up to a question someone had on my most recent Inbox Q&A episode about Nintendo Music and CarPlay functionality. So in addition to a new My Mix feature, which like scans your My Nintendo profile and creates a playlist based on what you've been playing recently on your Switch. That's a really cool feature.
That's fun.
They're also starting to roll out the amazing Mario Kart World soundtrack.
Yes.
So that's starting to roll out. The first batch just hit, and they said more will be coming very soon. The big thing that we want to bring up, because again, it is a direct follow-up to the Inbox Q&A episode. Somebody just literally a few weeks ago asked, hey, any chance Nintendo adds CarPlay functionality? Nintendo Music is now compatible with more tablets and computers, but also Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So I guess whoever asked that a couple of episodes ago is now pumping their fists right now. I don't know how many other people are, but Matt, how frequently do you actually use Nintendo Music as an app?
I really haven't used it a lot. The problem is that some of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time aren't really on it, which is a big problem with the app in general. I mean, like one of my favorite Nintendo, not to plug another favorite Nintendo game, but Wario Land 4, one of the greatest 2D platformers ever made, also has one of the weirdest and best soundtracks ever. And the fact that it's not on there is kind of criminal. But unless they've added it since I last checked, which is always possible, but I don't think so. But yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great way to give folks access to their music. But it's not like we can't find this stuff on YouTube and find all of it. Like I know it's not the same, and like I appreciate when Nintendo tries to give an olive branch for like giving us accessibility. But it's still like they're never like the online support, NSO. They're never going to release stuff fast enough to satisfy everybody. It's cool and it's great, but like I always feel like it's just not enough.
Yeah, it's every once in a while that I'll throw it on, right? It's not like I'm like, okay, well, let me make a playlist and let me like plug it into my car and go on a long road trip and have like 4 hours of songs. Like, it's like, oh, I really want to hear like the Donkey Kong Country soundtrack right now. And I'll just throw on a couple songs, but like, all right, that scratched that itch. Yeah. But like, it's rare that I will actually fire this up. It's much more likely that I will fire up like RPG soundtracks, to your point about Chrono Trigger earlier. Like, yeah, I will listen to like Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy VII, Persona 5. None of those are on Nintendo Music. Like those are things that you can just get on regular old like Apple Music or Spotify. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with those. But like, I mean, it is nice to be like, oh, I'm really in the mood to listen to like the Super Mario World soundtrack. And then you can just throw that on and hear like the banjo plucking and be like, okay, that was great. I'm done and ready to go back to other music now. So yeah, I mean, it's cool to have. I wish they would just put it on Apple Music, but I understand they're trying to make it like a perk for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers, which, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So speaking of phone apps, Matt, right as I was recording the last episode, Nintendo announced a new app that actually uses your photos on your phone to create mini games, and it's called Pictonico. And it accesses your photos and creates basically WarioWare, but with your pictures. So it brings your photos to life using, like, I guess, scans for faces in the photos. And then it brings them to life and gives you kind of rapid fire minigames. And it is very much in the style of WarioWare, which I'm super stoked on because WarioWare is one of my most underrated Nintendo franchises. And the game, it's kind of like Super Mario Run, where it's free to download. But once you fire it up, it ends up just being the demo that is free. And then to unlock the full game, you buy like game packs that has like a bunch of like the micro games kind of in like lumped into each other. So volume 1 is $8 and it gives you 50 micro games. Volume 2 is $6 and has 30 micro games. So, you know, fairly reasonably priced, but they're definitely going the microtransaction route. But I mean, I guess I'd much rather have like these expansion packs rather than like a subscription cost or something even more insidious. But Matt, have you checked out Pictonico yet? I always want to say like Pictonicto or Piconico, which is neither of those is right. Pictonico.
I mean, it's the Picto chat coming back from the dead. It's funny. I saw a trailer for it and it's got real Face Raiders vibes. I don't know if you remember Face Raiders, but like I put an embarrassing amount of time into Face Raiders on the DS because I thought it was fun. But no, I haven't played it yet. I have a love-hate relationship with WarioWare. The ones that I've played are very well made, but as a Wario platformer sicko, and I've only gotten one 3D Wario game, Wario World, which is incredible and people should go play. It's on NSO. I kind of begrudgingly rage against the WarioWare games because like I want another platformer for my good buddy Wario. But I saw the trailer for this and it looks fun. I guess charging for packs makes more sense. It's still a microtransaction, and I don't know that that's worked well for them in the past. I don't really hear people talking about the Fire Emblem game or the Animal Crossing game anymore, like which were the big ones. And I know Mario Run also nobody plays. So like, I hope they find success with this in the mobile market, but I don't think this is it. I mean, you know, for kids, I think it could be really fun, right? Especially if a kid has like an old phone that a parent gave them that has a bunch of photos on it. That could be fun. I also think that maybe this isn't for me. I don't play a ton of mobile games, so like I'm not the target audience, which is totally fine. But I do plan on trying it just because like I feel like as someone who podcasts about video games, I'm obligated to like try these things. But I can't imagine I'm going to get hooked. But we'll see. You never know.
Yeah, I also don't imagine myself playing it in public, like, because it's like, oh, here's this god-awful picture of my face, and if anybody looks over at the phone, not only are they going to see this terrible picture of my face just taking up the entire screen of my phone, which makes me look really vain, but also it's like, all right, I'm plucking like crabs or something off of my beard or whatever it does on there. And it's like, okay, this is just really weird that you are playing a video game with your face in it in public. And I don't know if this is going to be like my new playing game. Like I right now it's Balatro, it's Black Jacket, which we're going to be talking about in the main segment as well. But yeah, I mean, I just don't anticipate firing this up. I think it'll be fun for like friends and family gatherings.
Sure.
To be like, oh, look at this picture.
I think it could be fun, like if you're hanging out with a bunch of friends that say like SGF or at PAX or something, and like you've got a bunch of photos you've taken over the weekend, and then you boot up the game to see what it does. That could be fun, like those kinds of things. But like, yeah, I don't see it being like a game changer, as it were.
Yeah, but I'll check it out. I downloaded it. I haven't bought any of the packs, but I'm sure I'll buy a couple of them and see what it's all about. At least play the demo.
Sure.
Hello, I'm Friendship.
Hi, I'm Mealy, and we're the hosts of Getting Around to It, a podcast by creators for creators.
We talk about topics that content creators can relate to.
Like algorithms, sponsorships, and parasocial relationships.
Plus, we'll give you that gentle nudge when you need to get it done.
Or a slightly less gentle nudge to just do it.
Tune in every other Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
So I know that Friday is going to be an extremely busy day for games. You know, that's when Jeff Keighley has his big Summer Game Fest stream. But since I am out in LA and actually in attendance for that stream, I will react to Summer Game Fest next week. However, Tuesday of this week was crazy for news. Like, I'm only going to cover a few items from it on this podcast because they only a few pertain to Switch. If you want more of my reactions from like the bigger stuff from the PlayStation State of Play and other stuff that came out on Tuesday, where we set a new record for this current era of Game Informer, where we had 29 stories go up on GameInformer.com because it was such a busy day. So that's just a peek into what kind of stuff we can get into over on All Things Gamers. But here's what we're going to talk about on All Things Nintendo. Ubisoft has officially announced two new Rayman games, but they're, you know, not new in the sense of like brand new games. They are enhanced versions of older Rayman games, but I would say the two most beloved Rayman games. So the first up is Rayman Origins Enhanced Edition. This is an upgrade to visuals of 4K with 60 frames per second, plus new collectibles and quality of life features. And then there was Rayman Legends Retold, which I would say was, as well liked as Rayman Origins is. Rayman Legends is the beloved one. So this version upgrades the backgrounds, gives you a better camera, and does a heavy overhaul of the visuals. It also has new dragon riding levels, which is not something I thought was gonna be added anytime soon to the Rayman formula. But Wes over at Game Informer went to France to play this, and he says that they feel like fantasy-themed Star Fox levels. So I'm in.
Yeah, same.
There's also a new villain that they added to help make the ending better than what I think a lot of people considered a very big disappointment at the end of that game. Both games come out on October 1st, and guess what? Rayman Origins Enhanced Edition comes for free with Rayman Legends Retold. So if you buy either the standard or deluxe edition, it comes for free. Matt, were you a fan of either of these games?
So no, I never really. So I dabbled in Origins, I think, at some point, like played a couple levels. But Rayman is a big hole in my catalog, like, or my history. Like, I've loved Ubisoft for a long time, played a lot of their games. Shout out to Buck Bumble. Hopefully we get a new one of those soon. They've been teasing. I will forever hope. I've always been curious about them. And I remember when I got my Switch 2 and I was looking for other games to get in the early days before there was a lot to play, I was like, oh, I should play the Rayman game, Origins, that came out, that first of the new ones. And then I realized it's not there. Legends is available on Switch, but Origins is not. And so I was bummed, and I was like, well, I'm not going to. I like to go in order, so I didn't play it, but I saw this and I got very excited because I've been wanting to play them for a while. I've heard great things about both of them, and I'm a 2D platformer sicko, so like I think that I don't know if they'll be day one purchases, but they will definitely be something that I pick up for sure this year because I definitely want to play them because I've always heard great things about both games.
Same. I mean, I am also somebody who has not played either of these games beyond like the opening levels. I think I got, was it Origins or Legends for Vita? Because I think that Legends came to Wii U, and I think Origins might have been on Vita, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. So I started both of these games and I was like, oh, that seems pretty good, and then just never went back to them. But like, people on staff who are big platforming fans, Kyle Hilliard is an enormous 2D platforming fan. He says this is one of the greatest platformers of all time, Rayman Legends in particular. So I am inclined to trust him. So I will definitely check both of these games out when they come out October 1st. Another franchise that has not been doing a whole lot lately is Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
And Amazon recently acquired the IP and has seemingly given the franchise a new lease on life. And during the State of Play, we got the release date of the first of the two projects that have been announced. And this one is called Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis. And it is a full, complete remake of the very first Tomb Raider game, completely redone graphics, completely redone gameplay. Plus, they fleshed out the story more. This seems more in line with like a remake on the level of like, maybe not quite on the level of like Final Fantasy VII Remake, because that's like a 3-part game and that's a just enormous project. But it seems like they are like modernizing it and like rebuilding it from the ground up in like a whole bunch of different ways. So It's coming out on Switch 2 and every major platform on February 12th of next year. Are you a Tomb Raider fan?
So I remember playing the first 2 PlayStation games. I had a buddy who had a PlayStation before I did, and so like when I wanted to play Final Fantasy VII or Tomb Raider or the first Resident Evil, I would always go to his place and play those. But I never like grew up playing them. And then I dabbled in Tomb Raider. Honestly, the one that I played the most of. Do you remember the top-down like gauntlet style game on the Xbox Live Arcade? I played that whole game and loved it. And I've always been curious to go back. I have the HD remaster collection and been meaning to play it, but I haven't really gotten to. But when I heard that they were doing a ground-up remake of the original game, I got very excited. I love Lara Croft as a character. I've loved all the movies they've put out. I thought the Angelina Jolie movies were a lot of fun. I know they get a bad rap, but I enjoyed them. And so I've always liked the character. And then I played like half of the first reboot of the reboot series. And I didn't stop it because there was anything wrong with it. I stopped it, as you'll be familiar with, because I got hooked on some other game or had some other thing I had to cover and then never went back to it. Tried to play it 3 months later and went, wait, how do the buttons work? And then never picked it up again. And so I've always been wanting to get back into the series, and I kept thinking about going back to the reboot trilogy. But now that there's like a remake of the original game coming, I'd rather play that because that'll have like her origins and probably flesh out more of where she comes from and how she got her start. And I'm excited to give that a shot. And I mean, there are a lot of games on the Switch too that have no business running as well as they do. And like the day I booted up Yakuza 0, and I was like, oh, this looks like there's no fidelity lost. It looks exact. So I'm excited for this to come to Switch 2 because I think that it'll test the power of the system, which I think it can hold up, and it'd be fun to play Tomb Raider on the go.
Yeah, absolutely. I am a big fan of the reboot trilogy, though I will say the third one kind of lost me a little bit, but the first 2 are very good, especially that first one. Like I think it maybe kind of went a downward trajectory, like diminishing returns as that trilogy went on, but I still enjoyed all the games. I'm less familiar with the original games because I didn't have a PS1 until later on in its life. I basically only got it for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. So,
valid.
I got a few other games. I had like Spyro the Dragon and other games to check out, but Gran Turismo, stuff like that. But I never played the original Tomb Raiders until I got to Game Informer, and I only played like the first couple of levels, and I'm like, yeah, this is not aged great. So I am very excited to check out the remake, because if they make it so it plays like a game in 2020, I guess 2027, because that's when it comes out, then I will be all on board, because I love the Tomb Raider franchise as a concept. Like, sure, I think Lara Croft's one of the most iconic gaming characters of all time. Obviously, it's kind of gone like a little bit more in the shadows over the past decade or so. But I mean, it's great to have her as a character out there, and it seems like Amazon is intent on bringing her back into the spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of game I think that also deserves a remake, right? Not that the old games are bad, but they've definitely not aged well. And so like it's why I keep shouting for like a Shadow the Hedgehog remake or like a Sonic 06 remake. Like, I love that we're remaking good games, making them even better. That's fine. But why aren't we remaking the bad or poorly aged games? And this is acknowledging that those games are harder to get into. They already released them as remasters and cleaned them up, which is great. So what's the next step? Well, let's retell this story with modern sensibilities and see what we can do. And so I'm excited to shoot a raptor or a T-Rex with my tiny little handguns in full HD.
Well, I mean, you got to check out Sonic Project 06.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard good things. I know it's not quite done yet. I think they're still working on it, but like, that makes me excited. It's funny you mentioned that. I have the Sonic Unleashed PC port downloaded because they finished that recently, and I unabashedly love Unleashed as full of problems that it is, and so I have to play that too. But yeah, I mean, I'm a Sonic advocate like you are, so always want good for my favorite blue boy.
Yes, same. So Matt, people who listen to this show have probably checked out the Ori franchise. Are you among them?
Yeah, I played a lot of the first game on Switch when it came to Switch. I never finished it, which you're starting to
hard
see a
to finish
pattern
that.
here. Yeah. I love Metroidvanias, and so I know it's it's in vein with the kind of stuff that I would love. And then when the sequel came out, it completely passed me by because I went, well, I should play the first one, which I never finished. So as that goes, but I mean, it's some of the most gorgeous 2D art I think I've ever seen. It's so good. Like I really loved what I played of the first game, and I hope to go back to it.
So Moon Studio is the company behind that, and they put out 2 Ori games, and they also have a third game that I think a lot of people who are listening to this podcast probably haven't checked out, and that game is No Rest for the Wicked.
Yep.
And it's been in early access on Steam since 2024, and not only is it finally coming to 1.0, but they confirmed a release date for PlayStation. But unfortunately, the Switch 2 date was not revealed. They said they will announce it very soon. But, we got that PlayStation date. So that's progress, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to believe that Switch 2 date's coming soon, hopefully.
Yeah, they said they will announce it in the coming period. I don't know if they gave a specific time, but it's basically the studio's take on the Souls-like genre, and it has an isometric perspective. It's super atmospheric and dark, but also the characters themselves are really expressive. And it is coming in 1.0 format to PlayStation and PC in October, and then Switch 2 at some point after that. I'm not the biggest fan of Souls-like games in general. There's a few that have resonated with me, but I really do love Moon Studios. So I don't know, maybe I should check this one out.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to pigeonhole myself based on genre anymore. I used to say I hated first-person shooters, which was never really true, but I was annoyed with the Call of Duty franchise just because it felt like the most pervasive. But I love the Halo series. I'm actually playing Immortals of Avium right now. Don't ask why. I just am. It's fun. But to that end, when a studio I love tries something different, I'm like, well, I trusted them with this that I loved. I should try that. And so I'd be curious to try it. I'm coming around on Souls likes. I devoured Hollow Knight Silksong. It was one of those, I couldn't get through Hollow Knight. I don't like this game. It's too hard. And then it got its hooks in me. And then I ended up basically 100%ing the thing. So I have it's got to be the right game. I liked Dark Souls 3. I liked Elden Ring mostly because my friends helped me kill a lot of the bosses. So I have a love for the Souls genre now that I didn't before. Also, I can't claim to not like hard games and claim to love Metroid because those games are incredibly hard. So I'm definitely gonna check it out because I love that. The aesthetics look awesome. I love their previous work, and so I always curious when a established studio tries something different because it doesn't always work, and sometimes you find that it's actually the best thing they've done yet. And so I don't want to miss out on that just because I'm hesitant about the genre.
Yeah, I think you and I are both more into Metroidvanias and platformers than we are Souls-like.
Yeah.
But, there are some very good Souls-like games out there. Obviously, Elden Ring is looked at as one of the greatest video games ever made, and I've even, poured a bunch of time into that as well. But this is one that I looked at and I'm like, maybe I'll check that out one day. We'll have an excuse once it comes to Switch 2. So, Matt, I'm going to ask you a very difficult question here. Not one that I prepared you for. What are your top 3 Pixar movie franchises?
Oh boy, franchises. Okay, top.
I don't even have an answer for this myself. I'm gonna have to think while you give your answer. So I'm gonna let you flail as the guest.
How dare you? It's easier. It'll be easier to go from my number 1 down because I know what my number 1 is with a bullet. It's Toy Story. I was a kid when the first Toy Story came out. I've loved all of them. I'm excited for the new one. I'm a little hesitant of the narrative being they're taking on technology and video games, but also I'm curious how they'll handle it because they've handled all of the previous ones so well. My number 2 franchise is probably The Incredibles. I'm just a superhero fan, and those movies are really good. And I'm an old school Pixar fan. I've seen some of the newer movies, but I've fallen out of keeping up. I'm trying to. And then my number 3, it's not a franchise. It's only got the one movie, but I love WALL-E. I think WALL-E is just such a good movie. And so that's probably my number 3. And then I can't remember I think Zootopia is Pixar as well, or is that Disney proper? I can never remember. I always get confused at this point.
Oh man, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, because because that would be my dark horse at the end of the list after 3. If Zootopia is not General Disney and is Pixar,
Walt Disney Animation Studios.
It is Walt Disney. Okay, well then we'll put that over there. But yeah, those are probably my top 3. 1 is Toy Story, 2 is Incredibles, and then 3 is WALL-E. And I'm sure after this recording, someone's going to mention, how about this? And I went, how did I forget that? But that's how it goes.
I have my top 3 and then 1 honorable mention.
Okay.
So number 1, I mean, I'll count it down. Okay. Number 3, The Incredibles. I'm a sucker for superhero stuff in general. And I think that for a while, I mean, I like the latest Fantastic Four movie, but this was like the best Fantastic Four movie for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it didn't even have the license. Well, I mean, now they probably could do that because Disney owns both of them.
Yeah, that's true.
Number 2, Inside Out.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
Give me Inside Out. That movie, both of those movies get me every single time. Plus there's a Minnesota connection,
Yeah, it's true.
She moves from Minnesota. And number 1 obviously is Toy Story.
Yeah.
I basically was raised by Toy Story 1 and 2, and Toy Story 3 is fantastic. I actually have not seen Toy Story 4. I need to rectify that before 5 comes out.
I really liked it. I thought it was a really good one. I think how it rectifies with the kids aging and how toys are perceived. I mean, it's always brilliant. And so, I highly recommend it.
I do want to give my shout out to Coco, though, but it's not quite a franchise yet, but they have announced that Coco 2 is coming at some point, or at least a sequel to Coco. So if that is as good as Coco 1, or even just like almost as good, I think it could take over The Incredibles. But I mean, that's a high bar to set. But back to the reason I ask this. There's a reason. I promise this was not just a diversion to fill time or something. We have plenty to talk about. Toy Story, which we both had at number 1 on our lists, used to put out a ton of video games. And now we're getting a collection of those games. And even better, it is from my favorite historical compilation studio, Digital Eclipse.
They do the best stuff.
They do. I mean, Atari 50 is still the gold standard for all retro compilations, but they've done so many amazing ones. Tetris Forever was amazing.
Tetris Forever was incredible. I love that one.
Even dating back to like their older stuff, like Mega Man Legacy Collection. They did the first one before Capcom took it internal.
Yep.
And then they also did the Cowabunga Collection, and also I think they did the Street Fighter, the Anniversary Collection that they put out for Street Fighter. So they've done a lot of amazing retro work, and I feel like they've gotten better with each subsequent one. Maybe Atari 50 was kind of the pinnacle of what they've done so far, but they are doing 2 releases here. There's the Toy Story Retro Roundup, and that includes Toy Story, Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue, Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, Toy Story Racer, and as a bonus, the Nintendo 64 game A Bug's Life. And the games will feature rewind functionality, save states, access to cheat codes that unlock levels and characters, a practice mode, and enhanced visuals. And I would also imagine, given that it's Digital Eclipse, we will get some behind-the-scenes stuff. That arrives on October 15th. Then there's also the Toy Story 3 Complete Edition. And this also comes out on October 15th. And it brings what I understand is a very well-liked 2010 game to modern systems with improved resolution and frame rate. So, Matt, which of those games have you played a lot of?
So I remember playing the original Toy Story on Sega Genesis.
Yes, that was mine.
Loved. Yeah, I loved that. And then, I was a Sega Genesis sicko. I love my SNES too, but if we're talking Toy Story, Aladdin, like all the ones that had 2 versions on each console, I always leaned for the Genesis versions. And then I played a little bit of, I think it's Toy Story 2 on N64 and PS2. That's like lauded as like one of the best platformers. But I never finished that. But the one I put the most time into is the Genesis one. And then I never played the 2010 game, but I had always wanted to. And so it's exciting that it'll be included in this. I'm without a doubt picking this up. I don't need more games to play, Brian. I have so many games to play, but I'm still going to buy this.
Well, Toy Story 3 is actually a separate release, but they're both coming out the same day, because that is like a more fleshed out game by 2026 standards, even though it's 16 years old. But that is just kind of like a remaster of the 2010 game, which I believe came out on like Xbox 360, PS3. And then the other one, the Retro Roundup, is like all the other games in one collection. So, but
Cool.
I think Digital Eclipse is behind the Toy Story 3 remaster as well. But I don't know how many like, historical things we will have there. But yeah, Toy Story on Genesis, the original one, I poured so much time into that, even though like in hindsight, probably not the best game.
No.
But yeah, Toy Story 2, I think I played some of that for Game Informer. There's probably video footage of me playing that, or at least being in on the video that we were shooting back when we had a studio. And I remember being like, this was probably amazing for its time. For 2018 or whenever we were playing it, it was not amazing. But I mean, I trust Digital Eclipse to put out the best version of this, whatever these games are. Put them out in like the most playable and best, most enjoyable format, because that's what they do. They put out incredible re-releases of older games.
Yeah, for sure.
So before we wrap this segment up, Matt, this very episode, as it is releasing, represents the 1-year anniversary of the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2. We're not going to do some deep dive into it because we are so busy. We have so much to talk about. Maybe if things calm down a little bit, I'll do like a first year in review in a future episode, like when there's not a whole lot going on. Now is not the time for that. But Matt, 1 year in, what letter grade would you give the Switch 2?
Oh man, letter grade. It's funny. I feel like, so something you have to know about me is that the Nintendo Switch 1 was my dream console. All I ever wanted as a kid, because I grew up playing handhelds, was a handheld that had the same graphics and playability as a home console. I do now retrospectively miss different versions on the handheld, because the GBA and the DS had some really awesome versions of games. But the Switch 1 was my dream game. And when it was real, and then I had it, and I was like, oh, it is the same, more or less. I was like, it became my favorite console of all time, continues to be my favorite console of all time, next to the Game Boy Advance, the undisputable best game console of all time. We can fight about it online later. And so when the Switch 2 was coming, I was buying it day and date. Without a doubt, I had the money saved. I knew I was getting it. I got a pre-order. I knew I was getting it. And I rarely did that these days, sometimes because I had no choice, like the PS5 era. And then some, with before that, just like I would wait. But I knew I wanted this. And I loved it from the minute I opened it, because it was a better Switch.
Yeah.
So, I think for me personally, I would give it an A-, I think, because I'm infatuated with it. And it's my go-to console for indies and for, obviously, Nintendo games. And even some new third-party stuff, because they perform really well on it. If I had to give it a realistic grade, as objective as I can be, I think it'd probably be closer to a B or a B-. I think just the support is good, but it's not great. They made the eShop better, but the interface is still the same, basically. The friends list is still useless. A lot of the stuff that I was hoping they would improve, they really didn't. And then the launch lineup for the games, everyone knows, the drought from Mario Kart to Donkey Kong wasn't long, but it was long enough.
It was noticeable.
Yeah. And so I just think that, and then the limited supply and the tech stuff going on, especially in the US, and overseas, it's hard to really grade it higher than that for me. So I think I land objectively somewhere around a B or a B-. I still love it. And for me personally, it does everything I want it to do to play games. And it's my go-to console. But broadly, there is obviously better stuff still available, I think, right now.
Yeah, I think, by the way, before I get into my letter grade, I had also a similar thing with the Switch 1 where I was just I don't really play a lot of handheld games, because growing up, it was always oh, these are the worst versions of these games. Playing oh, I'm going to play the Game Boy version of Mortal Kombat. It's I play it for 5 seconds and I'm no, I'm not. No, I'm not. But obviously, as technology got better and handheld technology became more attainable, then we got better and better versions. You're talking about 3DS had some really great versions, but still if I was playing Super Smash Brothers on Wii U versus Super Smash Brothers versus 3DS, there's a clear winner there. So it was still a little bit of that. Plus, I like having it up on as big of a screen as possible. But I travel a lot. I'm about to hop on a plane in, just about 12 hours here. And I remember very early on, I think this was probably 2 weeks after the Switch 1 came out. I was traveling somewhere for work, and I had my 3DS in my bag and I had my Switch in my bag. And just instinctively, I pulled out my 3DS and I was I want to play some Mario Kart. So I fired up Mario Kart on 3DS and I'm playing it. And I was like, oh, so this is about a month afterwards because the Mario Kart was on 8 Deluxe was on Switch. And I had a moment where I was like, oh my God, wait a second. I don't have to play the lesser version of the game I wish I was playing. So I got my Switch out and suddenly I was playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on a plane. And that was just like a eureka moment of like, oh my God, I can play the greatest Mario Kart game of all time. I don't have to be like, fine, I'll play Mario Kart 7 or I'll play like Mario Kart Super Circuit or whatever. Like I could play the actual console game, or like I could play Breath of the Wild in the sky, which was crazy. So that was definitely a similar Eureka style moment that I had. And that was also the thing where I was like, this is Nintendo still doing their gimmick thing, but not doing it in a way that impedes your gameplay, right? Like the Wii was super cool, but it eventually got to a point where it's like, man, I wish I could play this game without any motion controls, or I could play with like a standard controller. Like Donkey Kong Country Returns is the perfect example of that. It's like, I don't want to have to shake the controller or the Wiimote every single time I wanted to roll. So there was like a kind of a tipping point where it's like, yeah, Wii Sports, that rules. And then it's like, Donkey Kong Country Returns, this could rule if we got rid of the motion controls. So, and then the Wii U, obviously, like the second screen stuff was mostly just superficial. And unless you're playing a Zelda game where you can look down and see like your inventory without having to hit the pause button, or like Mario Kart or Splatoon where you can look down and see the map, that is the only implementation I wanted from that second screen. Everything else felt like it was getting in the way of the gameplay that I wanted. Switch, I mean, yeah, they have HD Rumble. Yeah, they have the gyroscope. Yeah, they have the motion controls and the Joy-Cons. But the key gimmick is if you want to play it on a screen, you can. If you want to bring it with you and play it in a park, you can. Or a rooftop party, as that initial reveal trailer gave us, you can do that. And that is amazing because it focused, it accentuated the core gaming experience. So when they announced the Switch 2, or they were teasing the Switch 2, I was like, oh God, please don't make this another like gimmick heavy thing. Like just do what you were doing before, because we got some of the best Nintendo games of all time during the Switch era because it wasn't so weighed down by gimmicks. And that's why when the Switch 2 came out, I know this has been a long walk for a very short climb here. When the Switch 2 came out, it was exactly what I wanted, right? Like they had added the mouse controls, which is cool for stuff like Civ 7, or if you want to play a first-person shooter with a mouse, like that's awesome. That's the only platform that could do something like Drag and Drive. Not that I'm like a big Drag and Drive fan, but like that is super cool that that like not even the PC can do 2 mouse controllers at the same time the way the Switch 2 can. So in order to like add these tiny little things that add on to the Switch, but also give it so much more power, so much more like a better form factor, and also I would say a very solid, I won't say like the greatest first year lineup of all time. Like I think that Switch 1 gets that hands down with Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey and Splatoon 2 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and ARMS. Like that was a great first year for the Nintendo Switch. I would say that's like an A+ first year. I mean, I would put this like B+, A-, maybe.
Okay.
Like,
that makes sense. I think game wise, you're swaying me a bit because there were some solid games, and like I didn't love Donkey Kong Bonanza. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it was just too open, and eventually I was like, well, I'm doing the same thing I've been doing, which I think was kind of the complaint, is like the ending is very good, but getting there is a long walk. But it's still an incredible piece of technology that runs incredibly on the Switch 2, way better than it has any business to. So from that perspective, I agree. And yeah, a bunch of the other stuff that's come since, and like I'm so excited for stuff coming. Like Splatoon Raiders is probably one of my most anticipated games because a story-focused co-op, non-combative Splatoon-focused game is all I've ever wanted from the series. And like just outside the 1 year, we're getting Star Fox, which is pretty exciting, even though it's the 3rd or 4th release of the same story. We'll talk about that later. But like I agree with you. I think game-wise, the first year's lineup is still really solid, especially when you consider all the indie games that are available on it, all the ones that got free upgrades on it too.
Yeah.
Like I think that adds a lot. Also, like the thing that I think made me love the Switch 2 more than most is because I have a lot of Switch 1 games and they all play better on my Switch 2. I couldn't play Date Everything on my Switch 1. It didn't run well. It wasn't the 3D environments weren't optimized. It's an indie game. But once the Switch 2 came out, I was able to play through it in a breeze because it could just run it better. So things like that, I think, definitely on the other end does make me realize it does work really well for that purpose of just being more powerful.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could be talked down to a B, but I don't think I would go much lower than a B. But
Okay.
I tend to land on a B plus. So one full letter grade down than what I would give the Switch 1's first year. Also, the Switch 2, like you said, enabled so many other games to come to the platform and not be like, oh, why would I ever play that on the Switch 1 or the Switch when it runs so terrible compared to the PS5 version? The Switch 2 has closed that gap a little bit. So now, when a game comes out, you have to, it's not a matter of that's going to be by far the worst version of the game. It's going to be, all right, it might not run quite as well as it does on PC, Xbox, or PlayStation, but the portability, it doesn't run so bad that the portability isn't like a big enough thing to like boost it up to that level, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm kind of at with it. But yeah, I think B plus compared to the Switch 1's A plus for its first year is where I'm at. But it is notable that we don't have a 3D Mario game. We don't have a 3D or any Zelda game that has hit. But there's all those rumors swirling about what we might get this holiday season. But yeah, I think that's where we're at with the first year of the Switch. We are going to take our first break of this episode, and when we get back, I will be sharing my hands-on preview of Star Fox and give my review of a new game that borrows heavily from titles like Balatro and Inscription. We will be right back. We are back, and you may recall that last week I had to record the episode a little bit early, and the reason for that was I was hopping on a plane flying to sunny New York City to play a video game simply known as Star Fox. Not at all confusing that this is like the 7th entry in the franchise or 9th entry, whatever. But Matt, you specifically told me you are a big fan of Star Fox. What does your history with the franchise look like?
So, I mean, I've been playing Star Fox since the first game on the SNES. I was not good at it. I think a lot of people were not good at it, but I loved it. And then it was, I think, the second or third game I purchased for my N64. And Star Fox 64 would be, along with Mario 64, one of those games that I would just play on loop endlessly for that console. And so those are the big ones. I have gone on to play the others. I would get every new Star Fox game as they came out. Some better than others, like Star Fox Adventures. I have a soft spot for that game. I tried replaying it last year. It doesn't hold up, but I still have a soft spot for it. But I played Star Fox Command. Basically, the only game I don't think I've played in the series is Zero, because I believe Zero was for the Wii U, which I never owned. Fun fact, the only Nintendo console in my entire life that I've never owned is the Wii U.
Wow, even Virtual Boy?
I had one briefly and then got rid of it. Though I am tempted to get the NSO attachment because I'm a lunatic. But yeah, so I've played every game in the series. I've liked some more than others, but like the definitive games for me, of course, are the first game and then the 64 remake of it. And I have played the sequel, Star Fox 2 on NSO. I like it, but like the original Star Fox, it's a little janky. It's hard to get through, even with rewind and save states, but still fun. And so I've always had a fondness for this. I like, shooting games. I love side scrollers. I grew up playing stuff like Gradius and Life Force on NES. And so Star Fox is like the next evolution of that for me. And so I've always kept up with it, but I've always also, like most, kind of been disappointed that we don't have something newer. And so of course I was that's why I messaged you. I was like, oh, new Star Fox, something to talk about. Because I was very excited when that was announced. And they literally dropped that in our laps, which is still kind of incredible.
Yeah, they announced it during the recording of one of my episodes. If you listen to that episode, you heard Greg Miller be the one who let us know that there was a Star Fox game coming. But my history is I played a little bit of the original, like a SNES. I think I rented it over a weekend or something, and it just ran so poorly. I was like, this is this is hard to play, but it's really cool. And like, back then you didn't really care too much if a game ran poorly. Nowadays it's like, get your pitchforks and torches and let's storm the developers. Please don't do that. But, back then it was like, okay, this game doesn't run very well, but that's just how video games work. And so I didn't really play a ton of Star Fox on SNES. Star Fox 64 is my jam. Like, I know that game inside and out. I was at this preview event. People were asking like some of the Nintendo people there, and I was answering instead because I knew the game so well. I'm like, oh yeah, if you do this, it unlocks this and it gives you this. And like, I was the one that was giving the tips before the Nintendo people even got over to them to answer any questions that they had. And then there were other times where like, I don't know, did the original have this? And I'm like, yeah, it did. Don't worry. It had that. So I 100%ed Star Fox 64 multiple times over. I got all the medals across both styles, and that unlocks the on foot multiplayer, on foot battle mode, where you're all like running around on the 3D stage with rocket launchers instead of in your R-wings. So that was super fun to have friends over, and they'd be like, wait, why are we on foot? Like, this is crazy. And so I didn't play any of the handheld versions until Star Fox 64 3D, which I have said on this podcast before, the most immersive gaming experience of my life was playing Star Fox 64 3D in heavy turbulence.
Oh my God.
That's like a full body rumble pack. It's not even
Jesus.
like the rumble pack that comes with the N64. This was your entire body. Like, my palms were drenched because of how much they were sweating while I'm flying through a meteor field. Love that. Star Fox Assault, whatever. It was okay. That I was disappointed by kind of the level design of that, and I was disappointed by the on-foot stuff that came out of that. I think they didn't quite understand how to make good third-person shooting mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they remade Assault, which I hope is not the next game, but if they remade Assault in 2028 or whatever, I think that they could absolutely nail that concept of like changing vehicles in the middle of a level and jumping out on foot. Adventures, I bought it excitedly when I got my GameCube, and then I was like, this is not what I want from a Star Fox game. And like, they tease you so much with that first level where it's like you are flying through the R-wing and blast, and it's like, this feels so good, this looks so good, this is exactly what I want. And then you don't see that again for like a ton of hours, and you're just like, wait, this is like a Zelda game. I love Zelda, but this is like, I bought this to play a Star Fox game. So I never really put like a ton of time into it, which is unfortunate because I understand that like it gets very good. And Star Fox Zero, I was so ready to just be like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like, this game is amazing. Like, when the review came out, I think we gave it like a 6 out of 10. And I remember being like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Let the Star Fox expert borrow this game from the Game Informer vault, take it home one weekend and play it. And I remember I beat it in the first night and just being like, oh, that was rough. Like, that was not a good game. And I would still like to play it without like all the second screen nonsense, but I still think it would not be the best game if it did come to Switch without like all those weird hindrances like I was talking about when we were talking about the end of the Switch, or the first year of the Switch 2. So yeah, that's my history with it. I've been waiting for a new Star Fox game to come out. And it's just felt like, wow, that's one of the very few franchises that we didn't get a revitalization of, or like a port of, on the Switch 1. Like, yeah, we got Starlink Battle for Atlas. But that, I mean, did you have a chance to check that out?
So I did pick it up literally on Switch, literally just for the Star Fox levels. And it was fun playing as Fox in the game. And the game is fun. It does have a Star Fox vibe, right? Like, it's it's an open world game in a ship. And I never finished it. Like, the story just didn't really hook me. I do want to go back to it because like, it was beautiful on the Switch. It ran really well. And like, and the Star Fox cast is pretty integrated into the narrative. They even have their own exclusive levels. So like, it was a cool idea. But like, I just don't think it was really like thought of as like, what's the future of Star Fox? It was like, here's a fun thing since we've been collaborating with Ubisoft that we can do.
So I bought it and then I never played it. Like, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'll get a new, like, basically this is the best I'm going to get for a new Star Fox game. Because it seemed like Nintendo completely abandoned it before Star Fox Zero. And then they completely abandoned it again after Star Fox Zero. So that was like my only hope for getting new Star Fox content. And then I remember I fired it up and played like the first level. And I got to like the cutscene. And it was just a bunch of characters that like I'd never heard of or never seen before. And I'm like, I don't care about this story. And then like, you know, I probably if I stuck it out, I probably would have enjoyed it quite a bit. But we finally have an actual Star Fox game to talk about, and I got to play it as part of a preview session that Nintendo held. And I got somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes with the game. Like, I thought it was 60 minutes, and that's what I wrote in my Game Informer preview. And then Logan Plant, who attended the same thing on his IGN preview, wrote 90 minutes. And I was like, oh, maybe I just lost track of time because I was having such a good time, because I had a blast playing Star Fox on Nintendo Switch 2. Started off with training mode, which, you know, it's kind of like the virtual simulator where, like, in the cutscenes, the characters have like the VR goggles on, basically, and they're flying the R-Wing around, and like this is where you just learn like the basics of how to control the R-Wing and everything, and it's fine, you know. So the game, or the training mode, ends, and it's a cutscene, and that leads basically straight into the main story, where it's like, oh, General Pepper we have an incoming transmission from General Pepper. And the thing is, like, these cutscenes are so fleshed out now. Like, I'm sure you remember the Star Fox 64 like dialogue in between missions, where it's just like, you know, General Pepper says one thing, Fox responds saying one thing, then you hear "good luck," and that's the start of the mission. And this is like actual conversations, and like, you know, Fox is like laying out like, all right, here's going to be our plan, here's our strategy, and here's what we're going to do. And it's like, wow, this actually feels like a mission briefing instead of just like, well, we got to set this up somehow, like it felt on Nintendo 64. And there's actually like dynamics between like the team now, where like Slippy's just like, you know, kind of happy-go-lucky, and Peppy is very wise, and like, oh, these guys again, like, because Falco is going at Fox in some of these cutscenes. Like in an early cutscene, like Falco is like legitimately questioning Fox as a leader. He's like, yeah, we could probably do that if we had a real leader. And it's like, whoa, dude, like, I know you've always kind of had like a chip on your shoulder, but like, that is like, he's going at him in that scene. And like, even like one of the Nintendo reps that was like, just kind of like around to ask or if I had any questions, was like, yeah, I was surprised with how mean Falco is to Fox in some of these scenes. But like, what I really like also, well, let's get into the gameplay first. So like, the game plays almost identically to Star Fox 64, which makes sense because it is a full from the ground up remake. But, you know, you fly around to these levels. Most of them are linear. There are some all range mode areas. You know, most of them are in the R-Wing, but there are the Landmaster and the Blue Marine are in select levels. And I got to play through Corneria twice, once through the main path and once through the waterfall path. And then I got to play through Meteos once. So the first time playing through Corneria, you know, just kind of going through the standard path. And they specifically were like, Falco's going to suggest to you to go under the arches. Do not listen to him for this playthrough. We'll do that the next time. So things like that, like, you know, I don't think that there was ever any indication from Falco being like, hey, fly under the arches. Like, he actually seems to give you more of a vocal cue that like there is something that you need to do in order to like reach like a secret exit, because he was like, he like challenges you like, hey, Fox, like it would be a pretty good challenge to try to fly under all those arches. And then you do that. And if you don't, he like teases you like, oh, well, there's always next time or something like that. Or like, oh, better luck next time. Something like that, where it's like, okay, you failed. And then like in Meteos, he was like, hey, like, see if you can get through those warp things. Or what, I don't know what they're called, but like, so, you know, there are more hints that like, oh, there is something you can do to access the alternate paths in the levels. And it seems like Falco is the one that gives you that hint. So, you know, like when you lose a character in Star Fox 64, like Falco is always kind of not really, he's been like more of like the aggressor. So like he'll like shoot some enemies down for you if he's still around. But I would say he's like the least essential in terms of like the crewmates. Like Peppy gives you like the tutorials and everything of like, oh, you could do a barrel roll here. But Slippy, I think, is actually the most essential because he gives you the enemy shield when you go up against a boss battle. So if you don't have Slippy on your team in that mission because he went down, you don't get to see how much health is left in the boss. So this time, I think they made Falco a little bit more of a utility because now he seems to give you an idea when there's something secret that you can do in order to unlock the alternate route, which, I mean, I think is smart because it's nice that like there are stakes if you lose a crewmate or a team member. and they have to be in for repairs, you don't get certain benefits from having them. So there's actually a reason to protect them outside of like, oh, if Star Wolf shows up, it's going to be harder if there's like two characters trailing me. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, even though like as somebody who's beaten Star Fox 64 probably, 100 times at this point, I could use a little bit less of the like, hey, here's what you should do, idiot. Like, I don't necessarily need that, but like I understand like this is the purpose of this, and this is the reason why I think they're doing a 64 remake, is because in my opinion, this is going to be a jumping off point for this franchise. I think that this is like, all right, it's been almost 20 years since the origin story of Star Fox was retold through Star Fox 64. Let's just do that again, get everybody up to speed now that they've all seen this character on the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Now, all these new generations that have not played a Star Fox game because there's either not been one or it's been a bad game and nobody played it because, nobody had a Wii U. So I think that is a smart reason for them to go to 64. And then if it's successful, which, I hope it is, we can get more Star Fox games that go in different directions in the future that like, okay, we've established this team. Everybody knows who these characters are. And now we can tell additional stories beyond like, Andros attacking the Lilat system. What is your take on that? 'Cause you said you had thoughts on it.
Like, I'm frustrated and excited at the same time. Like, Star Fox 64 is one of my favorite games of all time. I played it as much as you did, like hundreds of times, every path, unlocked every hidden thing. And so like to get a remake of that game is really exciting. To flesh out that game is really exciting. But also they've done that story many times because also 64 is technically a remake of the original game. And technically, I think Zero has similar story elements to those two games. It's like, they keep telling the same story. But to that end, I mean, we did also get the Super Mario Galaxy movie this year, and we got Star Fox in that, played by Glenn Powell. I thought he did a fantastic job. I think it felt very Fox. Actually, it felt very Fox from Star Fox Adventures, like very quirky and funny, but also really serious and like kind of riding that line. And so like, and that was a huge success. And like that movie, of course, prints money, like the first movie printed money and people loved it. And there are already rumors of a Star Fox movie, just like there were immediately rumors of a Donkey Kong movie after the first one. And we've not seen that yet. So like, there's a lot of buzz. And so I get why they're bringing Star Fox back now. It makes sense. And they've obviously been planning it. They knew Star Fox was going to be in the movie. They were planning to bring this game out. And what's not easier, but I think what's more streamlined to develop is a remake instead of something brand new. Something that's a remake, you have the blueprint and then you can just build from that, which I don't know if it made development easier, but it definitely probably shortened it because they didn't have to write everything about the game. They had the broad narrative and had to fill out these cutscenes like you're talking about. So ultimately, I'm excited for it. I think I'm starting to feel the frustration with Nintendo and some of my favorite franchises because like we got, I'm so happy we got Metroid Dread. It's one of my favorite Metroid games of all time. It's a sequel to my favorite game ever. And then we got Metroid Prime 4, which I liked. I enjoyed my time with, but was clearly divisive and not a great, like, didn't show a ton of faith in what this franchise can do. Now 2D and 3D are separate, so who knows, but like Nintendo's not great with like reinventing the franchises. But to that end, Donkey Kong Bonanza was wholly a new thing. It was done by the Mario Odyssey team and like it had similarities to like kind of the building blocks. It was a whole new game, a whole new Donkey Kong, and I wanted that because I love the 2D stuff, but you're never going to do better than Tropical Freeze. It's one of the best 2D games ever made. And so like for them to pivot like that is huge. And so with Star Fox, they're not pivoting, but they are giving it a fresh coat of paint and like redoing. Actually, wanted to ask you, what do you think of the character designs?
I like them.
Me too.
I think that it was jarring for a lot of people seeing the super sleek, like anime style character designs of the Mario movie. And then immediately seeing kind of like these like more realistic, Fox is very fluffy. Falco is very like, streamlined, we'll say, aerodynamic. And then Slippy, they've said he's the wettest boy. So, but the thing that sold me was I went back and looked at the Super Famicom box art, the Japanese version. if you put those side by side, it is almost a dead ringer for the character models in this game. So if they are paying homage to those original Shigeru Miyamoto puppets that he used for the photo shoot of that box art, 10 out of 10 character design.
Yeah, agreed. I think that I like the character designs. I like that they look more animal-like, and I agree. They are definitely paying homage to those original puppets, and I think they're doing it well.
I want to say that like they look great in motion when you're playing the game. When you are like, you know, you're flying and they have like the little like portraits pop up and the you know, you see Fox or not Fox because you are Fox, but you see like Peppy or Falco like popping up and saying something. The cockpit view looks incredible, and like the cutscenes look awesome. It looks even better in the game than it does in like the directs.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately this is going to be a boon. And my preamble about Metroid, because it's like, it's our most abused franchise. I feel like we just get so few of them so often, and we beg for them, and then they come out and they don't do well. Star Fox, I think, is second to that, is in the same vein. And I bring it up to say, like, I'm glad they're doing a remake to get people invested. But I just wanted a new game because I don't know if we'll get another one. Like, I never thought we'd get anything after Fusion. The fact that we got Dread is incredible. But, like, my worry about this is if it doesn't do well, then they'll just do the same thing again. They'll sit on it for 20 years and then make another remake of a remake. And it's like, so I hope you're right. I want to be optimistic. I hope you're right that this springboards a new franchise. And what I think may help with it is what we alluded to. If they do make the Star Fox movie, if they do make it a multimedia franchise, that, you know, will reinvigorate the characters. You know, I love that they make, you know, I guess slight spoilers if you haven't seen the Galaxy movie yet, but I love that like they give Glenn Powell like a paragraph to read when you first meet him to give the entire backstory of Star Fox, just to give everyone frame of reference. And they show all the characters briefly. Like that was really fun. But I am ultimately excited for this, but a little exhausted with playing the same story again. But it's going to look better than it's ever looked before. So I can't argue that.
And it looks fantastic. So it played Corneria, went through the main thing, the main path. You know, it plays extremely well. You same concepts. You know, you get the silver rings to replenish your health, the gold rings to you know, replenish your health. But if you get 3 of them, it extends your health bar. You know, bombs, lock-ons, lasers. You can upgrade your lasers first to 2 green lasers, then to 2 blue lasers. All that stuff. Now I like that the somersault is mapped to a button instead of having to do the combination. And then there's also, when you're in all range mode, you can do either the somersault or U-turn with the press of a button. So there's no need to like remember like, oh, you need to hit like break and down or something like that, or whatever or boost and down, I think it was, to do these certain moves. So that is very nice quality of life. And then when we did the second playthrough where we did the like the alternate route through Corneria, we actually did it in co-op. So the way that works is one person is playing on like a standard controller or a Joy-Con, and the other person has the Joy-Con in mouse mode. So the person with the controller is flying and the person in mouse mode is aiming. So you're actually communicating with each other because they're the gunner and you're the pilot, or vice versa. And you have to be like, okay, we're going underneath here. Shoot the guys underneath. Or like, oh, I'm going to blast those guys. Can you get me into a better position? So it's a lot of communication that is required. And it does feel intuitive to aim with the mouse. It feels very good. But it is actually, I would say, a more difficult way to play this game because, like, you know, the reticule, the aiming reticule has always been an extension of where you're flying in Star Fox. That's why I think that Star Fox Zero did not feel as good to play, is because they made it a separate thing on the second screen, right? Like, it didn't feel good in that regard. So the fact that, you know, thankfully this is an optional thing. You don't have to do this. This is, I think, for mostly like, oh, I love playing this level. Let's play it together in like this way. And like, I'll handle the flying, which I would say is the harder part, because you have to avoid like obstacles and enemies and like do like get the items and do somersaults and stuff like that. And you can let like a kid or a less experienced friend use the mouse mode to shoot. So I got to do that, and that was the waterfall path where he flew underneath and then did the attack carrier battle. Then the final time was Meteo, which you know, is the meteor field if you do the easy path on that's the second level. And they were like, oh, like, is there like a secret exit from this level? And I was like, you bet there is. So I did the warp thing, and they're like, whoa, this is incredible. Like, this is because it looks very colorful. Like, it's a beautiful game. So the colors were popping, and it looked fantastic going through that warp zone. And, you know, you get to the end, there's actually no boss battle if you go through the warp zone. And but like, it's cool because when you get to that, you exit it, and you know how like it takes you up to Katina instead of going to Ficina in like the route. So like when I got to go, and it was like, because I chose the secret exit, they said like you actually get a cutscene where General Pepper is like, hey, here's the situation on Ficina. There's also a battle happening on Katina, and like, I don't know, what do you think is going to be the best route for you to take, and what do you think is like, where can you make the biggest impact? And he like actually lays out the stakes, like, this is a key military operation for us, we could really use your help, but also these people are really fighting for their lives up here, like, you choose where you want to go. So I like that they work it into the narrative that like Fox has a decision to make, like which planet does he want to go to and like help the efforts. So I really enjoy like the cutscenes, even like setting out like, oh, you actually have to like think about like from a narrative perspective. Anyway, obviously if you're going for a specific route, you don't have to think 1 second. I was like, oh, I'm going to Katina. Of course, I didn't have a chance to play any levels beyond that, but
right.
I really appreciate how they did that. I also got to play battle mode. So they've revamped the entire battle mode. Like, it's no longer just like the deathmatch style that they had in Star Fox 64. Now there are 3 different maps, and each of them has a different objective that you do. And it's 8 players. So it's Team Star Fox versus Team Star Wolf, which I love. And you choose which team you're on, and you basically just like duke it out over the map. And you can also do game chat with this and have like the basically Snapchat filter over your face. So like, and it does what, like, you can add like little elements just to yourself. So if you want like Fox's ears or Falco's beak on your face, you can do that. Or you can just do the full face transfer, and it just picks up whatever character you're playing as. So like, if you go to Team Star Fox and choose Slippy as your character, when you come on game chat, you will be Slippy's head, and it like tracks your eyes, it tracks your mouth and everything. So like, if you're talking, it actually in the bottom of your friend's screen looks like the character portraits that pop up in the campaign, which I think is a really cool touch. So did that. So I only got to play Sector Y, where it's like you're battling the 4v4, but there's also a lot of NPC pilots, and you're stealing cargo from these pirates that are just like transporting from one side to the other. And your objective is to steal the cargo and take it back to your base. So in Star Fox, it's the Great Fox. And the NPCs were surprisingly good. I got downed by like the AI controlled Fox because we didn't have a full team of 8. We only had, I think, 6 people playing. So like there were 2 bots in the match, and the bots were just wrecking shop. Like, they were surprisingly good. I don't know if there's a setting to turn them down if you want like the human character or the human players to be more impactful, but like, beware of the bots because they were kind of ruthless. So I got to play Sector Y, and then there were also 2 others I didn't get to play. There's Corneria, where you're working to control the zone around like the different parts of the map, and then there's Ficina, where your goal is to collect energy crystals around the map. And there are some power-ups that you can get in this mode that are super powerful. Like, there's some that are like, okay, this is a heat-seeking missile. It's stuff that's beyond what is in the campaign. So yeah, you can get the bombs. There's like heat-seeking missiles. There's like teleports that like just boost you forward really far. So like, if you're on the other side of the map and the objective's popping off, you can just boost forward that way. But there's one that's like a death ray basically, and like, because you get points for completing the objective, but then you also get points for downing enemies or like enemy NPCs. So I scored like 150 points in the span of like the last 5 seconds, and almost got us the win because I got like this laser power up that is just so OP. I just went like swept across at the very last second, and it took out like 15 NPC bots. I was like, what? And it's like plus 150, and I'm like, no way. And of course we still lost, but it was like it went from like, okay, we're down by like 400 to we're down by like 250 now, with like very little time left. But yeah, I loved my time with Star Fox. It's I mean, when it was announced, it quickly jumped up to like one of my most anticipated games of the rest of the year. And that, as you'll see over the course of this weekend, this year is jam packed. But, Star Fox 64, one of my favorite games on the N64, and this seems like it is a terrific remake of it. Matt, what is your outlook for this game now?
I mean, it's fun to hear all of the stuff from you about the game and kind of what's coming, and the clips I've seen or the photos or whatever else, the stuff in the trailer, all has me excited. It's funny. There are so many games coming out this year. There's so many games that came out in the last week that were near the top of my list. I can't go the whole podcast without mentioning Mina, which I haven't started yet, but I'm about to. I can give your listeners the scoop. I'm not sure when it's going to air yet, but we're going to be interviewing Jake Kaufman about Mina and about all of the soundtracks he's done, both for Shovel Knight and beyond. So we're really excited about that. But I'm so excited to jump into Mina, which was my most anticipated game. And then they announced Wolverine, which was my most anticipated game. And then they announced the release date for Control Resonant. And Control is one of my favorite games of all time. So and now good. Star Fox, it's like, I just like all of my favorite franchises are getting games this year, Brian, and it's too much. It's too much. There's so many. It's a good
problem to have. It's a good problem to have. The bad problem to have is just no time to play them all.
Correct. But I am excited for this game, and it is a day one purchase, even if I don't get to play it as soon as it comes out. Like, the good thing about this game is, even with the improvements, I'm sure it's going to have a short runtime because the original game was only an hour or two. So I imagine this will be closer to 2 or 3. And so I'll be able to replay it. But yeah, I am excited for it. And I think hearing your feedback and some of the other coverage is, really inspiring and exciting. And so I hope that this gives Star Fox the bump that it deserves, because like you, I love this franchise and I just want it to do well. I hope it does Metroid Dread numbers, basically. Like with the install base, I just hope it gets those numbers and can like show that people want to play these kinds of games, and hopefully we'll get more of them.
So that comes out June 25th on Switch 2. So it's only Switch 2, not Switch 1. So you do have to have the new console if you want to play that. But I'm so excited for this game. Like it has me itching to go play Star Fox 64 on Nintendo Switch Online. But I also am like, I want to save myself for this, because it's been like a couple years since I've played through Star Fox 64. So I'm just like, oh man, I want to fire up Star Fox 64, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna be patient. The game is out in a couple of weeks, so very much looking forward to that. A game that I have been playing, though, is we're going to talk about this very briefly because we still have a whole third segment to get to. But I've been playing a game called Black Jacket. I got recommended to this by Jeff Kanata over on the DLC podcast, and he basically sold me on it because he was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of like Balatro inspiration here, but it's blackjack, which I prefer blackjack in terms of like table card games. I prefer blackjack over poker. So when he was like, oh, it's like Balatro-esque, but with blackjack instead of poker, I was like, I am buying this game before we stop recording this podcast. So I got it on my Switch, and basically I would say it's more of a combination of like Inscription with Balatro, where you are playing as a lost soul, presumably in hell, and your job, or some sort of afterlife, and you're trying to escape, or you're trying to find answers of something. It's kind of vague. And you come across, like, you basically have like a map that you chart your way through, and it's like you choose which route you want to go. It is roguelike, by the way. So like each run is different, but you come in with a different like loadout of cards and everything. You can choose different decks, different face cards that have different like each face card has like different interactions. Like some of them will attack each other. Like if like a jack can attack a king, like commit regicide if you put him next to him, which unlocks different abilities for different characters. You can also awaken cards that makes it so that, oh, this card once was like a -10 and now it is a +10, and it gives like these different effects. Like it'll make it so that it breaks cards on the other side, or it'll mend your broken cards that like are less valuable because they've been broken. Or you can get insight, which makes it so you can look at the top few cards on your deck and rearrange them how you like. So like if you're like, okay, well I have like 18 do I want to draw again, or like, do I want to hit, or do I want to stay? And then you can look and be like, oh, well, a 3 is 3 cards back. Let me swap that to the front, and then I'm going to have 21 once I throw this down. So there's a lot of really useful abilities and effects that you can do. And you can also sleeve cards. So like you can hold up to 2 cards in your sleeve. So if like, you get 11 and you're like, oh, I really need a face card. Thankfully, I put one in my sleeve earlier in this hand, or this encounter. So that is like, there's a lot of really fun ways to do with that. And each boss battle, there's a boss battle at the end of each of like the little mini maps. And that takes you to the next mini map when you complete that boss battle. But each boss battle has like a different gimmick. Like one has like, oh, well, you can't sleeve cards. If you do, we'll like throw them out, basically. Another one is like, I have this special train card. It's like a kid. So it's like, I have this special train card that when she puts it down, it makes the entire like layout of the table like kind of go around like it's a train track. So like you could have the perfect setup, and then she plays this train card, and like every card shifts position, including switching sides. And you're like, oh my God. So there's so many different things you have to account for. And then when you beat the boss in each run, it like each time you beat them, it actually unlocks additional stuff. So like the first time you beat them, it gives a little bit of backstory of who this person was in their mortal life. Then the next time you beat them, you get one of their cards to add to your deck. And like, it's like representative of their personality or something like that. And then you keep beating them, and you get more memories, more cards, and more bonuses that are associated with them. And you slowly start peeling back the stories of these people, and you're like, oh, wait a second. There is some sort of relation to my character that is from like my character's mortal life. So it's like interesting to like slowly come to the realization of who these characters are and who they meant to this person in their life. And there's all these fun different effects that you can unlock. You can burn cards, you can awaken cards, you can go to shops and buy additional perks. You can, draw special cards and add them to your deck. You can choose difficulty settings that add like kind of more worthless cards into your deck. So like you might have to just draw, and it's just like a worthless card basically. So I am having a blast with this. It's not quite on the level of like Balatro or Inscription, which I would say, are probably some of my favorite indie games of the last decade. This is a very solid one, right? Like it's definitely one that I have spent a lot of time playing on airplanes. I've been traveling a ton lately, and I've put about 8 to 10 hours into it, and I'm going to play a little bit more, and I'll probably have a review up on GameInformer.com in the next. Summer Game Fest is coming up, so who knows how that's going to impact my bandwidth. But were you a Balatro or Inscription fan?
So I do love both of those games. Balatro is a game that I respect more than I love, just because I'm not good at roguelikes. And like, I'm so glad someone made a new roguelike deck builder, because we don't have any of those. Nobody's making them. I'm being facetious, of course. But like, I've learned to like roguelikes. I really like Slay the Spire. I did enjoy Balatro. I of course liked Hades, and like, so I'm getting better at really enjoying roguelikes. And like, I like when there's some kind of narrative. Like Balatro is fun, but like I eventually would kind of get bored, especially if I was doing badly. Whereas Inscription, at least like while you're bashing your head against the wall, you are learning more. And so that sounds really intriguing. I've just wishlisted it on Nintendo Switch. The art style is really great. But I do like these kinds of games. I'm not always jumping at them right away, in the same way that like Souls-likes games, like I need a hook. Same for roguelikes. Like I really need the time or a hook to really pull me in. But it does sound really cool. And like, again, so we have a Fun and Games episode coming soon. I don't think it'll be out by the time you hear this, but we did an episode about roguelikes, but specifically the indie boom of physical game roguelikes. So we got a review coin, We got a review code for Recoin, and that inspired us to like talk about Recoin and Balatro, and now there's Blackjacket. Like all these games are taking physical games that exist in our world and turning them into roguelikes. Why? And I love this fascination. We didn't even really come to an answer. We hypothesized a bunch, but like the reality is, I think it's rad that like all these physical games that I played growing up, or I played when I got older, that are now getting these like mutations to them that make them warp them a bit and make them really interesting. And this sounds like another one of those. So I'll definitely put it on my list.
Yeah, my theory is that, like, these game mechanics of like the original poker, original blackjack are so perfect, right?
Yeah.
From the confines of just taking a deck of cards and like a standard deck of cards and being able to just like flip cards over and do these different combinations to create the goal of whatever game you're playing, that somebody with a keen eye for game design could say, like, we could expand on that and make it really cool without compromising the base foundation that made this an all-time great game in the first place. Like, it's like people do different takes on like chess back in the day, or like people would do like, like you said, Racoin, right? Like there's all kinds of different mechanics that you could implement into that. And I think that there's ways that you could do that with blackjack and poker, as evidenced by Blackjacket and Balatro. So that's my opinion on why there are these games that are taken. I mean, we've seen people try different takes on Tetris, which again is a perfectly designed game at its core. And they're just like, oh, I think I could expand this to like make it cool without losing the essence of why it was so great in the first place. And that's the trick, right?
Yeah.
That's the way that you make a hit, is you maintain the specialness of it while also expanding it in ways that doesn't make it lose its identity. So that is Blackjacket. It is available now on Switch and every other major platform, from what I understand. I haven't checked all the things, but it's definitely on Steam and Switch, and I believe PlayStation. But we are going to take our final break of this episode, and when we return, it'll mean the return of Definitive Ranking and eShop Gem of the Week for the first time in a long time. We will be right back. We are back, and it's time for Definitive Ranking, a recurring segment where we take a Nintendo topic and give our own personal top 5 lists. Since this episode was heavily focused on Star Fox, Matt, today I want to get your top 5 Star Fox missions. So you're going to start at 5, count it down to 1, give me a quick sentence or two about each.
All right. Well, starting with number 5, we have Venom 2, because there are 2 versions of Venom. There are multiple paths. I'm not going to explain it for everybody. You either know or you don't. So Venom 2, which is the true ending of the game. It's the final battle. I really love the way the planet looks. Like for the N64, it still looks so cool. It was hectic. It was overwhelming, especially because all of the like cybernetic versions of Starwolf is there, like fighting you because you beat them once. So that's my number 5. My number 4 is Planet 4, aka Corneria, from the original SNES game. It's iconic.
Oh.
It's like the graphics are really funky, like all the polygonal, like flashy sprites. Like I really love that opening stage. It's also the stage I played the most growing up because I was bad at the game and mostly only played the first stage. I think my number 3 is maybe an underdog, but it's Macbeth from Star Fox 64. I really like that stage a lot. I love the boss. I love the way the routes work. Like I really love that stage a lot. And I feel like it doesn't get shouted out enough. Then my number 2 is the Asteroid Belt from Star Fox on SNES, the second stage, because again, I was bad at that game. I didn't see most of it. But again, really cool to see what spaceflight looks like in this game, and like just really unique. And like, again, at the time that this game came out on SNES, there was really nothing like it. Like maybe arcade games, but like that was really it. Nothing on home console. So, I think commemorating that special stage as well. And then my number 1, I should surprise absolutely no one. It's of course Corneria from Star Fox 64. It's one of the most iconic stages in video games. It's a fun stage to play. There's multiple routes. The battle it's a great tutorial level. It teaches you that your allies can get shot a bunch, that they can go down, they call out for help. Every time Slippy tells me someone's on his tail and help me, Fox. Feel bad. Got you, Slippy.
Thanks, Fox. I thought they had me.
Yeah, exactly. Do a barrel roll, where that iconic line was first uttered. If you've watched the old OG Game Theory about it being an aileron roll and not a barrel roll. God bless you, Matt Pat. But I had to pick Corneria from Star Fox 64 as my number 1. It's just such a perfect video game level, especially for that game.
Great list. I was actually wondering if you were going to choose all Star Fox 64 levels, because that's what I did. Mine are all Star Fox 64. Yes, there are levels on SNES and even Assault that I really liked, and even that opening level of Star Fox Adventures I really enjoy. But yeah, Star Fox Zero was not getting any lip service on this. I'm going to go number 5. This might surprise you because it was your number 1. Corneria of Star Fox 64. It's a fantastic tutorial level. I love the branching paths. Both boss battles are super fun. It's a great introduction to all range mode without being overwhelming. But like it shows you like, wow, you can fly between the guy's legs, which was mind blowing at the time.
Yeah.
And like that really made it so like you understood the entirety of what Star Fox 64 is in this one level. Like you got on rails, you got like, you know, learning how to do a barrel roll, learning how there are branching paths. There's all range mode, which you probably play the first time, because I doubt the first time you play it, you're going to fly underneath all the arches. You're probably just trying to still get the hang of the controls. And then, yeah, it's just, it's a perfect encapsulation of what this game is going to be. Number 4 for me is Katina. Ooh, this is where you meet Bill. Yeah. I think the reason I liked this so much, and it was probably higher up for me when I was a kid, because I really liked Independence Day, the movie.
Yeah.
And this is basically the Independence Day level. Like there's a mothership that is going over a base. It shoots a beam down to destroy the base. There's a million aliens flying around. You have to shoot them down. It's a giant dog fight, literally, because you're fighting alongside dogs. But it's just a fantastically fun level, and they teased it during the overview trailer they put out this week in the for Star Fox for Switch 2, and I was like, oh, don't show me too much. I want to like experience it for the first time in the game. So Katina's number 4 for me. Number 3, I'll say Venom 2. The fight against Starwolf, like the climactic battle against Starwolf, and then the leading in directly into the final battle, so good. I remember the first time I did that, I was like down to like no health, and I was like, how am I ever? And it was a miracle that I beat that the first time I played through it. And the battle against Starwolf is always going to be just chef's kiss, right? Like Starwolf makes the game so much better, and it's ridiculous how much better they make the game whenever they show up. So I'm going to go Venom 2 on that. I did want to give a shout out to Venom 1 though, because there are some really cool moments when you're storming the home planet of it. Mm-hmm. Almost makes me wish that there was more of like an actual level of Venom 2 instead of just the all range mode style stuff. But you know, you got to do something cool for the regular route as well. Number 2, you said it was kind of a dark horse. I'm going Macbeth number 2.
Wow. Okay.
I'm not even a Landmaster guy. Like, give me the R-Wing all day, every day. But it's so perfectly done. And like the fact that you have to like shoot the train as you're going, and like the boss battle is incredible. You have to like fight this flying guy while you're also dealing with the switches if you're going for the true ending. Knocking out those switches is so hard, but when you do it, it's so satisfying. And the way that the train conductor is taunting you the entire time, and like, they didn't have to do this. They could have absolutely just made it so you were down on the surface by yourself, but seeing like Falco, Slippy, and Peppy flying over top, chasing enemies and like kind of like doing air support for you, just added so much immersion to Star Fox 64. And then number 1 for me is Area 6. That level feels like a secret like military operation, and the stakes feel so high, and it's like this is the final approach to Venom, and we're gonna really take it to Andros, and there's so much at stake when you're going into that area. And then the final boss is so cool that I'm trying not to spoil too much about 64, because a lot of people are probably going to be playing these levels for the first time when Star Fox on Switch 2 comes out. But everything about that level just is perfection. It's everything that I want from a Star Fox level.
It's a good one. Yeah, I forgot about Area 6. That's a really good one. And like, yeah, that boss battle is probably one of my favorite video game boss battles. It's really good.
So good. So yeah, Area 6. I also really love, is it Sector Y? The second level on the hard route. I believe it's Sector Y.
I think so. That sounds right.
and it's like a war is breaking out, and you're like getting there, and it's just like a destroyed like space station and like just debris everywhere. But then like enemies pop out, and like there's like those like anthropomorphic like dogs, like robots that are coming at you. And that's such a fun one too, and that feels really cool because like I think the way you keep on the hard route on that is you have to kill a certain number of enemies.
Yeah.
So that's my honorable mention. Not that we do honorable mentions on here. I'm breaking the rules. It's my podcast. I can do it.
You can do whatever you want, Brian. It's your show.
But Matt, it may be my show, but this last segment is your segment. It is the eShop Gem of the Week, a chance for you to give some shine to a game we might not otherwise give shine to on this podcast. What is your eShop Gem of the Week?
So my eShop Gem of the Week is actually a game that I beat and played recently on the Nintendo Switch. And a game from a studio that like their games have been lauded, but I never played any of them. So it's the latest from Outer Loop Games. It's called Dosa Divas. If you are not familiar with Outer Loop Games, you might be familiar with their games Falcon Age and Thirsty Suitors, both of which are amazing and I really need to play. And so this is their third game. It is a story about two sisters in a cooking mech, and it's a spicy turn-based RPG. It's got so much style. It's fully voice acted. It's really delightful. The main mechanics is very much Super Mario RPG turn-based fighting, where you fight as the two sisters and the mech separately, and you have like multiple inputs you can do to do more damage. Their special attacks have like you either repeat or hit on the beat or like hold the button down. Very, very familiar if you've played Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars, or even the remake. And then the way you solve a lot of quests is you cook for people. People are hungry in this world. The broad narrative is that your eldest sister is coming back after a long time away, and your youngest sister has taken over by giving people all food in a tube and taking away home-cooked meals. And now you're trying to figure out why and fight back. And the cooking is part of the quest giving, and all of the food looks delicious. And like, I love Monster Hunter for its realistic food. It always makes me hungry. But there was something about the way because this is all very cartoony, the way it's animated, the way it's drawn, just looks even more delicious. And as someone who likes dosa and likes a lot of different variety of cuisines, it was really cool to see these interpretations, the different kinds of way you can make stuff, the different ingredients you can get. And it's just a really fun time. I think it took me like 8 to 11 hours. It's on the shorter side. It's really RPG newbie friendly. Like if you've never played an RPG before, it's a good starting point. Everything is pretty well explained. And if you're a veteran, there's still some cool stuff. I'll say that the combat gets a little repetitive, but there are difficulty settings too that you can adjust if you want to breeze through it and see the story. I really love it. It's currently $19.99 on the eShop. It's for Nintendo Switch and plays on Switch and Switch 2. It runs really great on Switch 2. I really think it's worth your time. I think, so we were talking earlier, Chrono Trigger is one of my favorite games of all time. And so RPGs, I love all genres, but I think turn-based RPGs especially are always going to hold a special place in my heart and are like my comfort games. And the Switch has become my comfort system for RPGs. It's where I played Persona 5 Royal. It's where I, of course, played the Super Mario RPG remake. It's where I've played a lot of RPGs lately. Mm-hmm. And this one, I think, is another great one for the list. The music's also incredible. It's done by Mark Sai, who, if that name sounds familiar, that's the same person who did all of the music for Boyfriend Dungeon, one of my favorite games of all time. So that's also really awesome. And I'm a big music nerd. So like there were certain like instruments that I heard and I went, this sounds familiar. I wonder if I was right. And so, I love it. I think it's really worth playing, especially if you're looking for a bite-sized turn-based RPG with a great story about home cooking and family and like forgiveness. I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, I mean, Thirsty Suitors, I played the first several hours of that game and it's fantastic. I wish I had more time to finish it, but like such is life, you know, like there's so many games that I wish I had time for. But yeah, this is one of those that I've had on my radar for a while. I've heard from multiple people. You're not the first person who's told me this game is amazing. You're the first person who said it on this podcast, though. So you get that feather in your cap. But as you mentioned, $20. So if this sounds interesting to you, not the biggest monetary investment to try it out. And it just came out in April. So it's still a relatively new thing, still part, I would say, of a little bit of the social media zeitgeist. If you have not yet played it, you can check it out. Tell people on social media, and people might also need to hear about this game. So Dosa Divas, out now on Switch 2 and a lot of other platforms. But Matt, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of All Things Nintendo.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel really honored. You're one of my favorite working folks in the game space, and like All Things Nintendo, I've been a fan of for a while, and so it's fun to get to be on the show. I really am happy to have been asked, so thank you.
Oh, that's very kind of you, and I'm appreciative that you said yes when we finally figured out that we could make it happen this time. But thank you so much for listening. As you know, my Patreon and associated Discord server are the best ways to get any questions or comments in, but you can also get in touch with me at brian@allthingsnintendo.com or hit me up on Blue Sky or Instagram at Brian P. Shea. Matt, tell everyone where they can find you online.
The best place to go is djstormageddon.com. That takes you to my link tree because I'm old, so I have an old platform. And it has all of my podcasts there. The one I'll push you to most is, of course, Fun and Games, which is a broad topic-based discussion show. I think if you like this show, you will like that show. We have a Patreon that you can join for free and get access to articles I've been writing. I've written a review a month for about a year and a half now, which is new for me and has been really fun. I know some people write more reviews than that a month, but I'm getting there. But it's been really nice. And yeah, if you like the kinds of stuff that Brian talks about and the guests that Brian has, you would probably love Fun and Games. We're on all platforms. And then I am on socials, mostly on Blue Sky at djstormageddon.com, and then on Instagram, DJ_Stormageddon. So if you want to reach out and tell me your thoughts about this episode, stuff I've recommended, or just say hi, you can go there.
That is our show for this week. Thank you again for listening. Take care. We'll see you next time. Hey everyone, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to check out this episode of All Things Nintendo. Before we wrap up this recording, I just want to give a special shout out to the $10 patrons of this podcast. Alex Stadnick, Ben Richland, Big Mitch, Chad Brecky, Chaps My Ass, Damian Patino, Derek Sigmund, Dusty Beeman, Ian T. Clark, Jawar Hello, Johnny Five, Jose Villalobos, Joshua DeProy, KC Radio Man, Kenny Shaw, Cody Gibson, Creeper207, Nathaniel Edison, Ozman83, Paul at Drunk on Mako, Pratable, Rob McCann, Bobby Mac 265, Robert Sosa, Roberto Nieves, Roger Reichart, Russell Sayer, Smithy Poo, Zane Sink, and Zek3 Sword Sama. Again, I know I say it every single week, but this show is only able to continue week after week because of people like you. Thank you so much for your continued support.
Hi, I'm Ryan George, host of the Portable Hole podcast. It's a podcast for creatives, especially indie comic makers, where we talk craft, conventions, publishing, and what it really takes to build something from scratch. I share real experiences from in the trenches and sit down with indie creators, big and small, to talk about the work behind the work. If you're building your own creative path and want honest conversations about making comics, this is the show for you. Search for the Portable Hole podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and watch out for the hole.